I'm Josh Harrison. I'm the president of English for Songers. We call it EFAS.
So my name is Simone. I'm mostly taking care of the technology strategy and how to make this idea work. Business-wise, who to talk to, how to make it monetizable, and things like that.
A few years ago, a friend of mine who's a screenwriter and a literary specialist who's taught adult literacy for many years came to me because they just announced something called an X Prize in adult literacy. She said to me, I've got this great idea, I've never had a chance to use it, and this might be the opportunity. I said, well, what's the great idea? She said, everybody listens to popular music. And the really hard thing about adults is who aren't literate, and there's over 65 million Americans who don't read well enough to pass an 8th grade level exam. They can't get their checking accounts signed, they have trouble signing leases, they can't help their kids with their homework, let alone advance themselves professionally. These are people of all different kinds. He said, but everybody listens to music. And I'd like to see if we can't use not just the ABCs, but some really popular songs to bring people in. And then she said, and this was it, she said, I'd also like, I see people playing candy corn on the subways. I see people playing all these games. What if we could take that and put it into an app on a phone so that when you're on the subway, you're playing a game, but instead of playing with little balls, you're actually playing and learning about basic literary skills. She said, do you think that idea has any legs? And I said, yeah, maybe we could. Let's explore it. English for Song at its heart is a well-designed, multi-layer exercise book that makes learning, that takes grammar into various specific pieces and makes it fun to learn about it. In the heart, what we're trying to do is we're trying to bring people into the exploration of the things they want to do. We're talking to a group of people who really want to help their kids do their homework. They really want to sign up. They really want to pass the driver's license test and know what the questions are and not have to guess. So we're really giving them an opportunity to get some of the basics so that they can get into a larger program, so they can get into a more formal academic program, whether that's a learning center or a community college.
There's a lot of people, especially immigrants, that comes to America with a dream, but because of their lack of literacy skills or English skills, they don't really have the opportunity of growing. With English for Song, they will be able to dramatically improve their English level. So imagine going to an interview and not knowing pretty much English, and to the same interview, being fluent in language. It can change their life. If they can grow, they can perform, they can help their kids with their homework, they can do so much better for themselves and for the community they're in. And that's how we're transforming, people's life, giving them not just a second chance, but a chance of being impactful and growing.
Everybody, I think, who's ever learned any language has learned it through song to some degree, whether it's a lullaby, how do you learn your ABCs. And so music has a natural affinity to all kinds of educational processes, language being the first connection that people have with their families as they're very young. Studies have demonstrated that that doesn't stop at childhood, that music has a long and very powerful connection as a memorization tool, as a learning and additive and instruction tool. So we have a really solid background in the idea that music can help people learn. We also have this really remarkable sense in this country. We're a music country. Music is one of America's great cultural exports to the world. People listen to music in this country in enormous ways. We've got about a 96% of the population is listening to music on a regular basis at any one time. In addition to that, people have a very high smartphone penetration. At every socioeconomic level, you've got 90 to 95% penetration in smartphones. So if you connect those two, and people use their phones increasingly as the primary vehicle by which they listen to media. So if you think about that, you've got this absolute pathway. And our idea is to move away from sort of the childhood nursery rhymes and give people the music they're already listening to. Give people the music they like, and let that music they like lead them into an instructional activity that isn't taking the instructional activity first. It's taking an activity and building an instructional structure around it so that people, while they're listening to music, can take the songs they love and they can dissect them and they can learn more about them and they can use that learning to help understand how they work, how these sentences work, how their memorization works. So we feel that music is a great vehicle. It's been validated scientifically, it's been validated by lived experience, and I ask everybody to remember back on how they learned things, and I think music will play a major part in anybody's learned recollection of how they got to where they are.
English for a song is an interesting concept because everybody listens to music. I'm Italian. I learned English through music, listening to the Rolling Stones. Everybody grew up with music. What English for a song is doing is using that as a leverage and to engage people. So imagine you listen to a song, you're reading the lyrics, and then there's a series of games with those lyrics. It's like word in a bucket, find a pronoun, say it like this, something boring, but then when you're engaging with it, it's fun. You're not going through like an educational application, you're going through a game, it's a journey, level 1 to level 10, and you're gaining experience, and with that you're like learning something, because it's not the game, it's the curriculum that is underneath the game that provides that.
We've been developing in-house. We've had a number of supporting agencies that have come in and helped us. We did a hackathon with Hackers for Good that got us a really strong interface. We've had a wonderful relationship with a branding company that has helped us develop our colors, our looks, our feel. We've been, we've had a lot of people who like what we're doing and have been willing to give us a bit of help here and a bit of help there. We're using all of that, we're cobbling together our initial program. We could start with as few as 10, move up to as many as 30. We don't need to have a universal library. We need to have a coded library that we can develop and be specific and use in an integrated, developed process. So the structure that we have right now is based on 3 levels of engagement. Early level, middle level, and advanced. And we have, then it's grammar, vocabulary, sentence structure. We have a matrix of about 10 different core learning areas in each of these things. So we have about a 30 product matrix against 30 songs, which is about 900 different discrete kinds of activities that people can go with it. As we start, we expect to build, both in terms of complexity and in terms of reach of music. Our algorithms are designed to be very applicable to new songs, so adding songs is not a complicated process for us. We're also, the structure that we built works with any Romance language, so that once we complete and perfect the English for a song, we already have, as I mentioned, we already have relationships with Colombia and Latin America. We're eager to apply the kinds of tools we're using to Spanish, and we can probably expand out from there. It's really amazing to realize that we have 65 million people who read between a 6th and 8th grade level, and another 15 to 20 million people who don't even read at a 5th grade level. We have like 80 million adults over 18 who are incapacitated in their ability to manage English. Now, some of those are new immigrants, but many of them are people who were born and raised with English as their native language, and for a variety of reasons, they just have slipped through the cracks. But this is not a small number. This is a large number. In addition to that, there's a very motivated community of people who speak English as a second language and want to learn. And that's not only large, that's only 50 to 20 million people in the United States. It's 1.6 billion people worldwide speak English as a primary or secondary language. That means there's somewhere with the demographics of the world going, there's somewhere between 800 and 1 billion people learning English at any one time. That's a huge opportunity, I think, that we can also approach and support people with English for a Song. Is clearly this app has to be free and unencumbered by ads for the end user. It's got to be simple to use, very little gatekeeping to come in. Where we see some monetization is in the value it provides to systems. We'll have a dashboard that aggregates the information of their user community that they've licensed, so that they can both get baseline status on where people start and how they're improving and how they're advancing.
We monetize licensing the infrastructure to universities, colleges, educational, to associations, school districts, and so on. The license that they get give them access to a dashboard of data where they can aggregate and understand how the users are moving on into their literacy programs. Years English for Song will be a mainstream app because it's fun, because it's easy, because it's free. A lot of traction, after we will release. And because the infrastructure is very solid, we can apply English for Song to many Romance languages. Soon after, we can have Spanish for a song, Italian for a song, of course. We can have French for a song, and so on. So in 5 years, we will see several mutation of the app